Hello, I'm Robert, fact-checker and science blog, and helping people who are scared that Jupiter's going to hit Saturn, or Jupiter's going to hit Earth, or Saturn's going to hit Earth, and when they are in a straight line as seen from Earth. Nothing is going to happen. It's like if you put your finger up and held it in front of the moon, your finger doesn't touch the moon, although it's along the line of sight to the moon. It's just like that. And you could block out the moon with a finger, but that doesn't mean your finger's touching the moon. So in the same way, Jupiter's way in front of Saturn, long way in front of Saturn, and when they're near to each other in the sky, then nothing is hitting anything, or it's anywhere near anything. Indeed, if you look at it from Venus, and just like with your finger, if your finger is in front of the moon, and someone else is a meter to your left, your finger isn't in front of the moon for them. The same way, if someone was on Venus right now, and they looked in the direction of Saturn, Jupiter would be a long way to the left. So they're nowhere near each other. This is what we see from the Earth, where they look quite close to each other in the sky. That's what you see with a small telescope. If you want to look out for it about 3/4 of an hour after sunset, in roughly the same direction as the sunset. And this is what, very occasionally, the planets do pass directly in front of each other. The last time was 6,856 BC. So if you want to leave a note for the next generation, leave a note on the kitchen wall or something, then they will have to keep it up there for thousands of years into the future before they actually get and your great many times grandchildren will get that memo that you stuck on the paper on faded, disintegrated paper, saying to look out for the conjunction in 7,541 AD. And so the two in that year, just because of the complicated way that the orbits work as seen from Earth, because there are 3 planets all moving on the Earth at different speeds, all stuck in their orbits. And then it's just the way that it works out. Sometimes they seem to move across and then back again as seen from Earth. They're not actually moving, they're all moving independently around the Sun. And the next time after that is 8,674 AD. And there'll be other ones before and other ones after. And again, it's just like the moon, a plane flying past, most times it'll miss the moon, but sometimes it'll seem to fly in front of the moon, and it's just a line of sight effect. It just depends where you're standing relative to the moon and the plane. And that's all that's going to happen. There's absolutely nothing here that can harm you in any way whatsoever. So let's go back to our original diagram. We are there, and the planets are all stuck in their orbits. And they're just stuck in orbit for billions of years. They can never move out of those orbits. The orbits are set by the speed and direction that it's travelling and the distance from the Sun, and that's it. If you put anything, doesn't matter how heavy or how light, and you put it there, and it's going the same speed as Jupiter, it's the same distance from the Sun, and it's travelling the same direction, then it'll follow exactly the same path. And then the main thing is that Jupiter is much heavier than anything else in our solar system, so it's not going to be, even if something hits it, or it's not going to be diverted in any way, there's nothing big enough to change the path of Jupiter. It's so heavy, and there's no friction. And the same with Saturn, nothing's going to change the direction of Saturn, or any of the planets. They're far too much, all much heavier than anything else that could hit them. So they're just stuck in these orbits, which is set by the speed, which is not going to change because there's no friction, and by the direction, and then that direction changes as they go around the orbit, but that direction is always the one for that particular orbit, and the distance from the Sun. And those are all tied together, they're just not going to change. So that's the way gravity works. If we had a different force that worked in a different way, it might be different. But the inverse square law of gravity, very stable. I think if an inverse cube law wouldn't work so well, if it was magnetism that made the orbits, then they wouldn't be very stable. But because it's an inverse square law and it's gravity, then you can work out it's very stable, slight perturbations, and don't change it. It's a stable equilibrium, this orbit, and it's just not going to change for billions of years. So, hopefully that helps some of you who've been scared that Jupiter might hit us or Saturn might hit us, or they might hit each other. No, never going to happen. And a lot of very uninformed people on the internet who have simply, they would be at the bottom of the class. If you had a class teaching them astronomy or science or basic maths, they would flunk. They would probably get 0% or, you know, 0.5% for spelling their name correctly if they tried to put in the answers on the science exam about astronomy. And these are the people who are scaring you.